Welcome, Speed Gaming, to Mystic Quest Randomizer SGL 2024. The tournament, and we've got a matchup between happyartea and fcoughlin today. My name is Ten, joined in the booth by Fried Potato. That is how you pronounce that, believe it or not. Potato, how are you doing this afternoon?
I am excellent. Very much looking forward to watching this match between Artea and fcoughlin in this round of 8.
For those who aren't familiar with this randomizer, there's a lot of settings that are not quite usual for the randomizer that we've come to know and love over the years. Notable rules, or flag sets, I should say, are things like spellbook shuffle, where some companions get different spells that they don't normally get. You're limited to only 2 companions throughout the whole run, and those are randomized at the beginning. So, for example, tonight we have Tristan Rubin. The runners will not have access to Kaylee or Phoebe throughout the entire run, but can still utilize them to do like their natural story progression.
Definitely, we've seen repeatedly that companion choices and companion quest choices can make a big deal over the course of these races. So it's interesting to see, you know, which one these runners are going to go with for how long and when.
Yeah, 100%. The spell books making pretty much the entire decision for you most of the time, but also kind of comes down to the quests. To level up your companions in this game, there are 4 available quests per companion, can be completed with anybody in your party, but each quest completed boosts that corresponding companion's level up, first from level 7 to 15, then 23, then 34, then 41. And they have spells unlocked throughout that progression. Our quests tonight for Tristram, we've got defeat 2 mini bosses, save 1 crystal, collect 27 sky fragments, and defeat Gidra.
Definitely, and Ruben, our other companion tonight, his 4 quests are defeat or clear the ice pyramid battlefield, save the crystal of earth, that's the bone dungeon, visit the box in the light temple, and that requires access to Cage Temple, a claw, and the Mobius crest. And his final quest is clear 18 battlefields.
We do see some overlap here in things like the Crystal of Earth and save 1 crystal. Defeating Flamers will complete a quest for both companions. Kind of nice how that works out. And then the other main difference in this randomizer versus vanilla, as you may have seen on the fcoughlin side, is the like attack shuffler. So any enemy in the entire game can have any attack outside of Dark King attacks, and I believe we saw fcoughlin get absolutely just decimated by a Minotaur here. So that is definitely something we've got to look out for, and these runners have to be wary of.
Yeah, that Minotaur not holding back just hit Tristan for 603 damage. Even the worms we just saw on fcoghlin's side pulled out a quake, which for the enemies at this low level still managed to do a fair amount of damage to him. Yeah, right now I think we saw that bombs were available in a shop. I'm not sure what the other town was, but I believe the bombs were Fireberg. So 500 gold for baby bombs. The runners are going to be clearing this tile to try to figure out what sort of money they're going to get. And it looks like, I think that was 300 gold.
That's correct. So each of the battle tiles from vanilla are also shuffled in the overworld, but in the randomizer they are color coordinated, and that was a green tile indicating that is a gold reward. They don't really give anything besides what experience and money the enemies give you, but then a random amount of gold at the end. So they just, like Potato said, had 300 in that one. That would allow fcoughlin to purchase the sand coin for 200. They'll need to come up with an extra 400 for this the bomb check here.
Yeah, it's sad. I'm sure they're going to be a little sad they don't get to pick those up before they move on. Hopefully some better bombs will present themselves and maybe save them 500 gold. Since they did get a coin, you know, they can move on to the next area. There's not a lot left to do here in the starting area unless they want to try to take on this battlefield that Fred looks like he's prepping up for.
Was that the ice pyramid battlefield here as a Rubin quest? I missed
Yes,
that one.
yes. This because of that little exclamation point. Yeah, the runners know that is the quest specifically for Rubin's battle or for Rubin's quest, and they'll know sort of what the enemy formations are that are available there, since it is the ice pyramid battlefield.
That is the one nice thing about the quest battlefields, is that they're always the same no matter what, as long as you remember what name goes to what enemy formations. But clearing this one will allow them both to have Ruben at level 15 when they do pick him up, if they choose to do so. So I've got to imagine fcoughlin going to clear this out, then go back to Fireberg and grab Ruben.
Definitely.
I would make.
Certainly, especially at this point, we haven't seen Sand Temple, I don't believe. So Tristram is not technically in Logic. So picking up Ruben, not a bad play. We're going to push, or Tristram will leave and go off to the Sand Temple. If you do make that swap, and so you will have to find that to reacquire him. But definitely a play I would potentially make. You want to have companion power sort of as soon as possible.
Looks like both runners completely ignoring our 10 minutes in the future advice. Completely ignoring Ruben for the time being. I don't think Artea cleared that battlefield, so would not have Ruben at 15. But a big, like we mentioned earlier, spellbooks making a big difference in decisions here. Tristram gets exit at level 23, which arguably is the most important spell in the entire game. Ruben doesn't get anything useful until level 34, so they've got to clear 3 entire quests to make Ruben a really viable damage output companion.
Definitely. Not getting that white spell till 34 definitely gauged Ruben's power behind several quests. Some of these aren't too bad, although they do require access to both the areas, in the case of the Crystal of Earth, as well as a Claw and a Mobius Crest for the Cave Simple quest, which is not an easy set of requirements to just come by.
Looks like runner's lucking out though. Bone Dungeon, which is Tristram's first real check that you have to have Tristram in your party for, is available right away. So not giving up on Tristram early does hopefully pay off here with a nice key item.
Definitely, free key item check, and then another one if they decide to go back to Fireberg. A little sad, certainly, not to have those bombs, because they could just clear that whole thing out and get a quest for both companions under their belt. But they will have to return with more money.
Side note, seeing a question in chat about your name. Obviously, phonetically, if you spell this thing out, it's very simple. Fried potato is how you pronounce that. Just as a reminder for everybody.
Yes, using a number of the sort of exceptions in the English language pronunciation of various letter combinations. Yeah, fried potato. It's simple. The runners receive the claw. Charm claw, not bad. Definitely better than the baby claw that you start with. It's their most damaging thing for Benjamin right now. Should they, be trying to take on the battlefields like they are.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing about keeping Tristram is that he is incredibly inaccurate and relatively weak, especially compared to Ruben. Starting out, Ruben does like 500 to 600 damage with his normal attack. So missing out on some firepower, but no real way to tell if it was the right call at this moment in time.
Right, it's really hard to judge, especially early on. You never know sort of what the enemies are going to throw at you, exactly how thick they'll be as far as HP goes. And bringing Tristram along certainly paid off as far as a key item check. And if they wanted to make that swap now, it's a little easier probably for them to do, knowing that his key item checks are at the very least taken care of. And should they get those 2 quests done, they can always return for that exit spell.
Yeah, exactly. So now that fcoughlin has checked Tristram's first key item, he will, no matter what he decides to do, send Tristram back to Fireberg, and he will stay there the rest of the game. So there'll be a permanent residence for him. It looks like Artea doing the same exact thing. So maybe, overall just lucked into a really nice play here where they can get Tristram's first check, get Tristram's second check in Fireberg, and then also grab Ruben at the same time. But I bet both of these runners are looking for money before they go back so they can buy those bombs.
Certainly, you hate leaving something like that on the table that is some form of progression, for longer than you'd like. We see, hey, nice pickup on Artea side, some seeds in the box. There's only, I think, 2 seed boxes in the whole game. And so that saves some money, especially in this early game, because like you just said, they're looking to find some cash. And yeah, both runners sort of heading back to that Fireberg town. Artea going to be surprised by the same battlefield that caught fcoughlin. Oh, no, making a save there. Very smart. All right. I believe that was a Windia formation, so fcoughlin immediately reset. Wasn't about to take on 5 Windia encounters at this point.
We did forget to mention the mirror. The magic mirror was obtained by a blue tile up in Aquaria. Tristram's second key item check is an axe. While relatively weak, it is important for things like a live forest and locking Pazuzu floors. So having one axe of any type is a good thing to have early on.
Definitely, I believe we did see a live forest over in that Aquaria region. I believe back here in the starting region, the runners still have Libra Temple to return to since they did pick up that Libra crest. And it looks like Artea is going to go ahead and take on this Ice Pyramid battlefield now to level up their Reuben, now that they sort of know they're probably about to make that switch.
Yeah, Libra crest rewarding Coughlin with the much better axe, the Giant's axe. Probably see him use that for the, until he gets some Mega Grenades or Excalibur or something else, because it's a very strong weapon.
Definitely, the axe is not known for their accuracy, but definitely do a good amount of damage. A number of enemies are going to take enough damage to kill them. Even those Wendy enemies are now potentially doable, really, with the Reuben Benjamin combo if the hits land and they don't otherwise get, blocked by enemy abilities.
Another side note here, just as a reminder to people who aren't in the up-to-date know on this randomizer, this is the first tournament race being completed with the updated randomizer, which essentially removed Dual Head Hydra as an early game blocker. So no longer will runners be required to fight Dual Head as their first boss, essentially. In addition, also removed gold blocks. So if the key item in the beginning was gated behind like that 500 gold, that's no longer a requirement.
Right, some logic adjustments to make sure that you're able to get the money necessary in that first starting zone to get out if it turns out to be a coin lock. And then, yeah, the Hydra logic change. I'm sure plenty of runners are excited to see that, especially in this case with, Lava Dome in the starting area. The runners didn't have to worry about that probably being any sort of immediate progression. Now, he still very much could be, required as the seed goes on, but hopefully they'll be able to take him on with some power.
Yeah, big shout outs to Wildham, the main developer of the randomizer, who he's just crazy, man. He does everything so fast and so well. I couldn't ask for a better dev for the randomizer.
Definitely quick turnaround times, and very active with the tournament settings to make sure that they're, working as intended and balanced. We do have a question in chat about companions. Are they random or can you find Phoebe 2 first? In this case, with these settings, you're going to find the whatever level of companion when you get to them that you've leveled up them to, but only 2 are going to be available. So in this case, when the runners find Phoebe, for those companions that don't have a level up quest, it's always going to be the tier 1 first. You'll need to find her in Libra, move her to Wintry, and then talk to her there to move her on over to the Windy area. And luckily, we have a Kaylee's mom flag turned on in this setting, which makes Kaylee irrelevant as far as the quest moving goes. You simply talk to her mom to unlock the Minotaur quest and the Elixir stuff.
Over on Coughlin's side, we did see him turn into thaw out Aquaria, giving him access to behind Focus Tower, and he's going to go ahead and do all the checks available there. He did get, I think, Steel Shield from Spencer, so kind of useless, but hopefully this little path here yields some better rewards.
Definitely not the value so far. Unlocking a few more tiles is always nice, and potential progression behind them, as we saw that river coin somewhere on the way. I'm right there. Mobius crest rewarded. He can actually do another Reuben quest right now. We did see Cage Temple available in the starting zone. So, and the Mobius crest, one of the key items required for Go mode.
Yeah, I think they do have Cage Temple on. Actually, I think Coughlin's going potentially right back to Cage to get that level 23 Reuben, or maybe not at all. But they can go back and get him at any point they want to just get a free level 23.
Right, 2 shard boxes, to potentially check in there since they need, those 24 to complete the seed. But right now we definitely see some different choices with Artea going on with that Claw and Reuben to take on the Jin. A mini boss that's not the meanest, but definitely, has been known to stymie some runners.
Yeah, this script shuffle can make any boss really a problem. This is a relatively early Jin play, in my opinion. But you know, I've seen nice gins before. This could be relatively easy, except for that 370 damage thing we keep seeing popping up on Benjamin's side.
Definitely, we do see phase change already, and not those ridiculous one-shot abilities, that could come out and really ruin it, or instant death so far. So, potentially gonna get through it and maybe be rewarded. We'll definitely, get the key item from Ruben and unlock a quick trip back for Ruben's dad if Megas show up early.
Yeah, I definitely see the decision making behind Artea's choice here. You know, getting Ruben's check done if they decide to, grab Tristan for exit if they complete 2 quests. They're not having to worry about bringing Ruben back and abandoning Tristan at any point.
Exactly. The companion quest playing into sort of decisions a lot of times. You don't want to have to inconvenience yourself with an extra trip back and forth to complete a key item objective or to swap companions later on in the siege. So very heads up play there. Meanwhile, we see Fred, exploring that Fireberg region via the river coin. Saw a number of areas there and deciding to take on the crab, another mini boss, usually a little earlier in the game than the gen, so probably not much of a problem with these axes.
Yeah, for some reason, Crab's weak to axes, and both Ruben and Benjamin have axe-type weapons, so this should be a relatively easy fight for him.
We say that, and the crab decides, to at least make it take another couple turns. A snowstorm, ice golem's desperation attack coming out, healing the snow crab back up and doing AoE damage. Not what Fred wanted to deal with there, I'm sure.
Coughlin just YOLOing the crab. I respect it, but it did not work out this time. Hopefully this retry goes a little better for him.
Right, that is a fight you could definitely get through, with some decent RNG. If the snow crab decides to just not cast Snowstorm, you're probably through without a problem. But, very interesting things the script shuffle can put in your face as far as boss abilities go.
Like we got Artea going back, ignoring. Oh, they did not pick up the river coin at this point in time, so they have not gone into a live forest with that axe. But let's see what their plan is here. Looks like turning into wake water. He's reasonable plan here.
Makes sense, definitely. You want to access those areas. Even though they don't have the Venus coin right now, there are 2 checks that it immediately opens, as well as whatever's hidden in that wake water area. So, in these flags, a lot of times, access to 2 areas. The more tiles you have available, the more you can sort of plan what checks you're going to do going forward, get your quick ones out of the way, and decide, what sort of bosses and fights you need to take on.
Apologies, I did misspeak. As is tradition for me, mixing up a live forest and level forest. River coin is in level forest, so they didn't do that. Artea did do a live forest check to get that wake water.
Okay. Fred, getting through the crab after a couple of attempts is definitely one of the meaner crabs we've seen, and rewarded with the aforementioned Venus key, which will let him check, an extra box in Spencer's basement in Aquaria, as well as once he has some bombs, he'll be able to check the one in Focus Tower. We know where bombs are. At least they are for sale. 500 gold, still very expensive for basic bombs. The runner's still probably trying to do what they can without that until the money sort of easily presents itself, like we see maybe here on Artea's side on this 2 out of 2 tile.
Yeah, a little shocking to see neither of the runners really prioritize those bombs with Bone Dungeon on the table. And also, side note, surprising to see Artea not farm those seeds just a little bit, knowing that money was so short. For those who don't know, brown boxes regen themselves every time you exit a dungeon and come back in. So those seeds right there could have been like the most valuable brown box in history in Mr. Quest Randomizer.
Definitely, Fireberg, is gated late, or if money is an issue, finding farmable seeds definitely allows you, at the very least, those life charges to keep cranking out as much as you need to keep you alive throughout the seed while you slowly whittle your way through bosses or battle tiles. But yeah, definitely interesting to see. The both runners sort of fading the known bombs, but Bone Dungeon, very dense. 4 checks gated behind the bombs in that dungeon that they are just sort of leaving on the table at this point. They did have plenty of other things to sort of pull them away, so it's definitely understandable, go after what you can. But if that is the first logical bombs in the seed and everything else, the other two bombs could be in Bone Dungeon behind them. So, keeping the runners from accessing anything else with bombs for quite some time.
Very true. One of those weird little things in randomizers where first one to remember to go pick up the bombs wins kind of deal. Not saying it's going to happen, but kind of things have happened before.
Definitely, when your first item gates the other two as far as claws, swords, axes, bombs go, it can present some interesting challenges for how you're going to route the seed, because you need those, to access all the areas, whether or not it's for key item progress or for shard hunts later on in the seed. You're going to want access to as many places as you can.
Looks like we do see Artea go back to pick up those bombs, the first to do so, and then spending all but 300 on seeds, knowing that they still have I assume that's the Windia item to buy. I would be surprised if Artea didn't go do, well, color me surprised. Coughlin doing that Cage Temple check to get that Ruben quest. He'll now have Ruben level 23. It was available to Artea. Either they forgot Cage is right there, or they just don't mind having level 15 Ruben.
Yeah, maybe their plan is to take on another mini boss. No, that's a Tristram quest. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, well, now they can just go over here to Bone Dungeon. Yeah, beelining it to Bone Dungeon. This will be a Ruben quest under their belt, so maybe a little more efficient in their mind to just do this, since it's where they're headed.
A big value here with the multi-key. Multi-key was in the focus tower chest. Oh, my mistake. That is completely incorrect. It was in a battlefield in Fireburg. Only Coughlin grabbed that. He's rewarded with the Aegis shield, the best shield in the game. Gives him petrify and a paralysis protection. Arguably the most important piece of equipment these runners can have. Ooh, jumbo bombs in Windia. Coughlin's Fade of the Fireburg store pays off for him very well.
Definitely gonna save 500 gold there. Can spend that all on siege if he wants. Plus, starts out with some slightly more powerful bombs. So, it took some time, but ultimately didn't end up with bombs that much behind Artea here, and is currently in the third region of the game, which we know that this Bone Dungeon isn't going to give Artea access to. So,
speaking of which, Coughlin being in Windia is completely out of logic. The flag set here does not take into account the teleportation used when you use the crest. So him teleporting from Fireburg to Windia takes him out of logic, so we may find some things that Artea just won't find for some time.
Oh, that's true. That's true. I missed it. He took the multi-key back warp to Windia. Makes sense. But yes, that means the Sun Coin is still somewhere over here, potentially here behind Flamerous. But getting illogical bombs is gonna, save him some money, some time, having to return to buy them, or even just farm up a tile if he's not there, and he can just invest in seeds. Yeah, and the Aegis shield pickup, as well as, we've seen the Apollo helm, we see Gaia's armor, we also have the Venus shield and the charm on the table. Resistances to the various statuses are very premium in this game, as is that spell we just saw Artea pick up there, Exit, the best spell in the game.
Yeah, big decision going for Bone Dungeon. I mean, a smart decision regardless of the rewards, but going Bone Dungeon this early, rewarding Artea with Exit, meaning they could pretty much fade Tristram if they choose to do so. A lot of runners don't pick up Tristram because he's only useful for Dark King at level 41, which means all 4 quests. But now having Exit on Benjamin, you really don't have a use for Tristram unless you decide to do all 4.
Nope, and we see there were some bomb-gated bombs with the mega grenades in the mine sort of freebie cave that Artea picked up.
Because the other ones were behind Suncoin, which was in Bone Dungeon. So out of logic for Coughlin, saving him just straight up, well, I guess 200 gold, but a perfect example of bombs gated by bombs, but gated by bombs.
Yeah, excellent. Both runners divergence at this point. What they've explored, sort of what they've done, as we can see even on the trackers, sort of has netted them some different items that could come into play. If Artea never ends up taking that battle tile to get the Aegis shield, for example, that could be a big deal. If Gomo comes before that battle tile, there's a very high chance, that the runners don't stop to take on sort of extra checks. We've seen it time and time again in the tournament where some people are heading to Dark King without one or two of those important tools, and it makes a big difference.
I feel like, yeah, some of the runners that are still in the tournament like to just push the limits of what's really, you know, how little can I complete this game with in terms of the Dark King fight. I know Artea loves taking risks like that, so it'll be very interesting to see if they got. I've got to imagine they'd get Ruben level 3 at least.
You would hope.
You never know with Artea. And Dragonclaw, holy cow, Gomo just coming all at once, it seems. Missing Thunder Rock, and that is it.
Thunder Rock and Cap.
Shards. Oh, sorry. Yep, you're right.
The
so
two
and shards.
The two funny ones, because you know they since the Cap, you know, the Cap can be pretty much anywhere. The Thunder Rock can be pretty much anywhere. They don't have the sort of gating requirements or things that they open up that the other key items do. So the runners sort of have now every check in the game to sort of sift through before they find these go mode items. So it could be very quick. It could drag on for quite a while as they clear through some of these checks and are rewarded with some of the lesser wanted things like the fire spell or the quake spell, for example.
Yeah, as we've seen time and time again in this tournament and every other randomizer ever in existence, it could all come down to the very last boss they choose to defeat.
Definitely, you know, there's so many things out there that aren't these go mode items at this point for the runners, since it's fairly early in the seed. You know, it'll be very interesting to see what the choices are, what they get along the way as far as shards go. Chat bringing up something that we missed touching on with this update. Now, when you pick up one of these sky coin fragments, the tracker, as we see on Artea's side, will show you the number you are at, assisting, you know, yourself as the runner as well as us calming and a tracker to sort of determine how many more the runners need.
Artea running into a really nasty tile here. Coughlin saw this early and immediately reset. Looks like Artea at least going to give it a shot. It is a blue tile, so important. But now that they got Mega Grenades, Slime's weak to grenades. This could be relatively easy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Now that Megas are on the table, you know, you'd hopefully maybe hit with Tristram or Ruben first to maybe kill one straight out and then kill the other two with Megas. But Ruben being so slow, it's going to take a few more turns than that, I feel.
Speaking of the fire spell, Coughlin rewarded from Phoebe's key item check with the fire spell. So kind of lackluster, but it is what it is.
Definitely, you know, you don't want to leave those easy ones hanging out there too long, like this Phoebe quest or, you know, Ruben in the mine, so to speak, although that one's gated a little more severely than this one is. But, you know, the companion quests all on the table as far as key items, their first tier. So you want to try to clear those out, you know, leave nothing undiscovered.
See, Artea taking on the crab here, which we've seen Coughlin do already. That rewarded him the Venus key.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, that, like Potato mentioned earlier, 2 checks. Meanwhile, Coughlin doing the Squidite fight should make very quick work of it. He does have Ruben 3 now because he did that the Light Temple quest. So White Spell every turn is what we're going to expect to see from Ruben from here on out.
Definitely, unless, you know, the unfortunate happens and he is turned into a statue. Luckily, Fred's got the heal spell, it looked like, on the main character. So was able to undo that. You know, heal and life, the only ways out of that. And the script shuffle rearing its head again.
Gemini Crust, for his efforts, not what he wants to see. Only unlocks, I believe, like 2 shard checks and then teleportation between Aquaria and Fireberg, which we already know are basically neighbors.
Right, yeah, not helpful for travel in this seed. Yeah, we might see him peek the sealed temple to Wintry temple sort of shard boxes, although the way Fred and Artea play, I feel like they tend to stick to more of these on-path shard boxes and don't venture too far away from where checks are to find their shards, at least not until they're done with their go mode items. Yeah, now that both runners have bombs and that Venus key, there are those 2 extra checks that they've opened that I don't think either runner has returned to yet. And we have seen Spencer have plenty of value this tournament already, so it'll be interesting if those checks that are sort of just lingering there while they decide to head into ice are the ones they need.
That's kind of low, Potato.
It's happened to all of us, I think, at one point or other. I've certainly been known to fade a check and be punished. Now with exit, though, that Spencer trip's not the worst. At least, you can always save scum it. Something I like to try to do to save a little bit of time. But, if that Thunder Rock turns up, the runners might be able to just avoid going back down there entirely.
Very true. I've got to imagine Artea's thinking that way. They've got mega grenades already, which is what you need to check the Spencer's place through Thunder Rock. So why not wait till Thunder Rock to check that Venus key? They could hit Focus Tower obviously at some point, but it all depends on when they're going to go back to Aquaria.
Definitely. The only unfortunate thing could be if that Thunder Rock is in that box, and that's what they're waiting on. We've seen it happen. We've seen the items be in the place you least expect them, where the NPC could just walk up and get it if they need it, like Max ship having the cap, for example. And we see fcoughlin dropping down first. Did Artea do this as well to check the bottom before returning? No.
I don't believe so.
Rewarded with the Excalibur. My favorite, I think, outside of Megas, my favorite weapon item in the game. Wow.
Provide a speed boost.
So we just saw both other swords in Ice Pyramid as well. So double gated swords behind, that steel sword that the runners started with. Very interesting.
Feels a little trolly, to be honest. I'm sure they'll feel the same way once they check the respective chests. Thankfully, Ice Golem does at least have a red chest behind him, indicating it is going to be a key item. To go off of that, in this randomizer with these flags, because the Sky Coin shards is active, there is one single key item chest that is going to be what they call zonked, replaced with a brown chest that will be completely worthless.
Definitely, you could get, lovely 3 heal pots, refreshers, something like that. And it likes to show up when the runners least expect it. But they do know, this one behind ice is going to have something that the game considers a key item. Whether or not it's going to be valuable to the runners remains to be seen.
Coughlin with... You could argue a distinct advantage for both these runners, really. Coughlin having white on Ruben makes a massive difference, where he's doubling his damage every single round compared to Artea's Ruben doing like 600 or so. But Artea obviously ahead in terms of go mode items. It's going to come down to where the remaining ones are, and kind of what Artea's decision is for the partner going for it. Taking a wipe there. Golem's kind of like could be the nastiest boss in the game. He obtains the what's the word? The attack.
Desperation attack.
Thank you. He obtains a desperation attack in his 3rd form, and the only boss in the game that can AoE status your party. So I didn't see exactly what happened, but Artea wiped out quickly by whatever desperation attack Golem rolled.
Yeah, it looked like it might have just been Sky Attack with large amounts of damage. fcoughlin took one as well, but his Ruben able to live through and cast white and finish off that Ice Golem, luckily.
Yeah, that's the other side effect of having a higher level partner. Being able to take more attacks just like that one right there. Moving into that windy battlefield we saw Artea do earlier, which, did Artea ever finish that? I'm not sure. Track. I don't think I finished this one earlier.
Wouldn't be surprised.
Very challenging one. So yeah, not surprising at all to see Artea kind of be like, all right, I'm not going to deal with this right now. Yeah,
this is a very late game set of enemies. They're going to outspeed you frequently, and some of them have interesting resistances or can be very difficult, like these oozes to get through. If you're expecting to go in and just sling spells at them.
Yeah, oozes. These black oozes, one of 2 enemies in the entire game that can reflect magic on you. So that's why this battlefield in particular is kind of a pain.
Yeah, having to switch back and forth, and not being able to rely on what's arguably, your most efficient damaging abilities, those spells. You see Artea use some defense strats well to get through that very mean Ice Golem. Yeah, I couldn't tell. Artea very quick with the menuing. I couldn't tell what the ability was the Ice Golem was using, but definitely dishing out the damage.
Coughlin down to one more fight here while Artea picks up the elixir. Still has to go to drop down to be quote unquote rewarded with that Excalibur. I'm sure they will not be very excited about that.
No, you only really need one sword. The Excalibur's the one you'd probably prefer to have if you had to pick, but the others are sort of superfluous to the run, not gating anything more than just any other sword would.
Huge item Coughlin finds in that windy battlefield. The Thunder Rock. If Artea decides to fade that battlefield, that could be a big problem.
Definitely, that is, we are a cap away from go mode, I believe, and this Thunder Rock going to save F. Coughlin some time in returning to check that Venus key box that's next to Spencer, provided that he heads over there. It looks like rather than do that right away, he's deciding to clear out the pyramid here and take on Medusa, or the volcano, excuse me.
We do still need to see Coughlin go to the mine, get those mega grenades.
That's
It'll be
true.
interesting to see when he decides to do that, because it may not be on the forefront of his mind right now. But Artea does go right back to that battlefield. Smart decision. They're already in the firebreak area, so assuming they can get through this, rewarded with the Thunder Rock, then cap only until go mode.
Definitely, yeah. You don't want to leave too much in an area sort of behind, and with the extra power those megas are giving them, going to be able to hopefully clear through these battle tiles without too much difficulty, although still lacking that white spell that F. Coughlin has picked up for his Reuben. And that's got to be, what is that, the Ice Pyramid Battlefield quest?
No, Artea's faded the Cage Temple, the box in the Light Temple.
Ah, okay. So, yeah, that's a quick one at least to do. Just got to hop back, and make a little trip.
Coughlin finding the parts of go mode Artea is missing at the moment, so assuming they just kind of swap places here, it's going to be down to who gets luckier kind of on fights and whatnot.
Definitely, we know Artea is on track to get the Thunder Rock here. Just needs to make the play to go up to Medusa. Kind of an interesting play. A lot of bosses available on the field for the runners. So lots of other things could pull him astray. Although if he's clearing out the areas he's in, and Volcano, is something he walks over, maybe he just makes the decision to go for it. But yeah, for now, Fred having to find those megas. The only thing he has left.
Also needs to find the Dragon Claw, which was the Lava Dome check. So I imagine he finds these megas here in mine, assuming he goes there soon, and then progression would make sense to go to Lava Dome. But I don't know exactly. I'm not in the mind of these two runners as much as I am others, so it'd be very interesting to see what they decide to do. But as Chet mentioning, Coughlin does pick up white from that Venus key chest by Spencer. So Benjamin now has reliable damage, even though he doesn't have those mega grenades. So that's going to be a huge boost to his kind of just, general speed through these fights.
Definitely, his ability to clear fights not going to be hampered by not having those megas so much. He's already picked up a number of seeds, and we do see over on Artea's screen is making that volcano play make sense. Proximity checks are a big deal. Runners like to clear out areas while they're there, especially when they're only looking for these, few things before go mode. So this is going to put Artea in go mode outside of shards.
Yeah, I also had to take into account difficulty of bosses, or at least presumed difficulty. Medusa probably the easiest, thing that Artea has left to check, at least that are, easy to check. So
certainly,
makes tons of sense doing this. But like you said, it's just going to be a race to shards, and Artea, I would bet money goes to boat very soon.
Definitely, Artea, a big fan of checking out the boat pretty early. It's got a chance to have a decent number of shards, and we've seen it have the cap itself twice this tournament already. So
What
In
is
this
gonna
case, obviously not going to, but
right? Gonna be very interesting to see Artea's decision on partner here. Still rocking at level 23 Ruben, not anywhere close to any useful Tristram. You need to defeat Gidra and collect 27 shards to make Tristram usable on Dark King. So I've got to imagine that Artea's looking, maybe forgetting where that cage temple is. Maybe they'll make a play and go look for it.
yeah, there's a lot of things they're still missing, sort of. You know, they've got white, not the greatest spell, but serviceable. But we know, you know, they're missing the Aegis shield that F. Coughlin has, as well as the Cupid locket that we just saw F. Coughlin pick up from another battlefield on his way over to the mine, which we, you know, and he does now have his mega grenades. So
You see the excitement on his face when he picks that up. Now he's got a fully geared Benjamin. He's pretty much immune to everything or resistant to everything. He's still going to take out Jin while he's here. Makes a lot of sense. He's going to get that Ruben quest done. His win condition right now is going to Lava Dome. Love to see if he makes that call.
definitely, there's a lot of things, you know, still on the table that could potentially, you know, beckon for him to come check them. You know, this is gonna have Ruben's dad in Fireberg on the table after he does this, since he does have the megas. So it will be interesting to see sort of what his decision is at this point once he clears out this check. Where is he going to head? What's he sort of going to look for? Because, yeah, as you said, Lava Dome is the play.
Now that we're talking about it, I don't think as Artea took the opposite pathing in mind, beat Jin before getting megas. I don't remember Artea going back to free Ruben's dad. So as we know, it's irrelevant. It's just an interesting point to make. Another thing that Coughlin is going to have to check that's on his mind, which he's immediately going to go do, it seems.
Definitely, you know, the choices that the runners make and each point of divergence, you know, sort of compounds on itself as far as where they're going to need to go next. And what they have available. You know, Artea sort of saving themselves a check by not having megas when they went to the mine, but potentially going to miss out on whatever it was the Ruben's dad just gave. Although we know nothing very important.
Yeah, it's funny. We've seen that a few times throughout the tournament where skipping something either on purpose or an accident kind of saves the runner and gives them the win.
Definitely, if it's a fetch quest chain or something, you know, that takes you several minutes to check, you know, you're going to save that time by just not having it.
Artea was gonna go. No, they weren't gonna do dual head. They were hunting for shards. Artea in full go mode besides shards. They're at 17 from the last time it popped up. So I can't imagine they were gonna do dual head at any point. Coughlin just showed up 15 shards.
Definitely.
He did get the Dragon Claw, or is about to get the Dragon Claw, correction. So at this point in the game, it's essentially a shard race.
Right, whoever gets there first. So 2 shards apart, they need 24 shards to open that door. We see Artea making a play for this third Ruben quest to get him white, which certainly he's going to want before taking on this Dark King, no matter what else he decides to do. So smart to get it over with now while you're in the area and just, you know, go back about your business clearing for shards. Yeah, I wonder, is Artea going to go? They need 6-7 shards. The boat, that's a high ask for the boat, but there are some extra boxes in Windia itself that I don't believe Artea's checked. So it'll be very interesting to see where he decides to go to get the rest of them.
Artea loves boat because it gives them an exact number of how many they actually need. So I'm pretty sure Artea's gonna go release the boat and hop on that immediately, just to make sure like they know exactly what they need.
Yeah, if the boat hits good, you know, then your extra trip out is only going to be 1 or 2 shards. And maybe Artea's even seen them somewhere that were slightly out of the way, but, you know, they know that that would be the fastest place to just quickly go back and get one. It's very interesting, the sort of shard routing that different runners pick. And we see, yeah, this is the first time Artea's sort of heading into Windia, you know, Fred having visited it quite a while ago out of logic, but Artea not really needing to come here until now, so.
Yeah, always interesting when an entire region is not necessary logically.
right? The only thing the runners need for this is this right here to free the boat, really, and then the Windy Town access to get onto the boat. But yeah, no progression items that were, the only place you could get something over here, and none of those sort of big, big items. At least not that probably Artea is going to find. We did see Fred, I think, pick up that Aegis shield from a battle tile over here.
Artea rewarded with life through the Mobius check. Coughlin, in theory, will also get that when they make that play. So really only missing Flare for a kind of ideal Dark King fight here and some levels. But we do see Artea purposely taking some fights. Oh, correct.
I was going to wonder, was that purposeful or not? Sometimes you just get really happy bouncing around. I love the jump animation and the sound effect in this game, and there are times where I just can't help myself, and inevitably I run into enemies, or fall off an ice pyramid. Wow, Wintry Cave. Nice to have this right there. A lot of shards very quickly obtained. Now Artea only down 2. Gonna head for the boat. Oh, maybe not.
Oh, Artea is definitely going boat.
I go it too, so I would be surprised not to see Artea go with,
at least,
well,
my goodness,
or not even need to.
And, yeah, Artea, I know Artea's mine right now, immediate go mode. They don't care they're level 15. They may take a fight or two in Doom Castle, but they love to send it as low level as possible.
Certainly, they want to, beat your opponent. We see them scanning their items to see what they're missing. They noted that, they don't have the Aegis shield. They don't have anything better than the charm. So still missing some of those items I'm sure he would prefer to have, especially going in at a lower level.
Yeah, Coughlin's, I'm not going to say his only hope, but Coughlin's really hoping that Dark King is rude with those status effects, with how many Artea's missing.
Definitely, that would give Fred, a distinct, a potential advantage. RNG can do some amazing things. Artea might never see those abilities that Fred resists the entire fight due to the way Dark King works. But yeah, definitely, Fred's hoping Dark King is a little extra mean, so the extra items he has, the extra resistances are going to be the difference maker here. He's also already 2 levels up as far as Benjamin goes, which could be a big deal, although he is still looking for 2 shards, and we only saw 1, I believe, on path in boat, so could get a little bit burned here and have to waste some extra time.
Flare in Doom Castle, I swear that is there 50% of the time, but that's great news for both runners, but especially Artea going in, like you mentioned, a little bit lower level here, going to give them some extra firepower that they're going to desperately need.
Definitely, I bet Artea is feeling very nice that they made the actual trip down there to get that. Every little bit of damage is going to matter in this fight because it is, a low-level Benjamin fight. You're going to want to make sure you're not missing out on whatever damage you can, sort of optimizing what you can do with what you have, because HP is not something you have a lot of.
Just for the viewers at home, just in case you didn't know, Cupid Locket versus Charm, fcoughlin got Silence, Blind, and Confusion protection. Artea has none of those. And then the Aegis Shield providing Petrification, while Venus Shield only does Paralysis. So if we see Petrification, Blind, Confuse, or Silence, Coughlin is, at least sitting prettier than he is right this second.
Definitely. We see the boat only turning up 1 shard, sort of letting fcoughlin down a little bit. He now has to find 1 more before he can actually go into Doom Castle.
Nice easy phase 1 from Artea's side here. Ruben, pretty much the slowest companion you can get, so let's hope that Dark King also kind of rolled low here in speed.
Definitely, you'd love to be able to have your companion outspeed the Dark King a little bit, although sometimes knowing that Ruben's going to act last every turn is a strategy you can adjust to, but it definitely can put you on the back foot. We do see the Dark King dishing out some large numbers there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was an accident or on purpose, the double life on Ruben, but it's the only way Artea makes it out of that turn. So that was pretty big brain, if I had to say so myself.
Definitely. Sometimes, you know, when you see those abilities come out, you sort of have to err on the side of safety to ensure that you don't just end up wiping in the fight. You know, if you can push through a phase, you'll see some ability shift. Maybe he'll be a little nicer and allow you some recovery time.
We do see Coughlin taking the one shard he remembers, because I remember seeing that shard when they walked through Ice Pyramid. He remembered it too. Instead of searching, he went to the one that he knew existed. Kind of took a while, but you never know how long it would have taken otherwise. So now he's at 24. He'll be heading right back to Windy, heading to the boat, and it'll be Dark King fight off.
Definitely. He'll be here very soon. You know, it'll be interesting to see if he stops off for that flare. Not missing as many things as Artea is. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually skips that and ends up going in with white only.
Another thing you got to think of is that it's not even 50 minutes yet. There's no way Coughlin's sitting here going, I've got to rush it now. There's no way Artea is there, but I mean, here we are. That in my runs always kind of plays into my decision making. If it's early enough, I'll take an extra minute sometimes if I think I've got the time.
It's definitely a very good point. The seed so far being very fast and not too mean to the runners. You know, none of the stuff was gated behind anything particularly awful or any of those longer dungeons full of enemies in awful areas. We saw the windy region wasn't even required to sort of get here. So,
but you did call it. Coughlin skipping that flare chest. I mean, 500 damage a turn or so difference. It could make a big deal, but you never know.
Yeah, this Dark King is not being nice. Oh, we see.
No.
All right, the great equalizer. We definitely have a race here. Both runners sort of starting up an attempt at the same time.
That is a rough phase 3 wipe from Artea, but that is exactly just what happens on Dark King. Doesn't matter how geared you are or how ungeared you are. Dark King will do Dark King things.
Interestingly enough, I believe we saw an instant death ability come out of the Dark King, and Tristram in this version of the randomizer does have functional instant death immunity. So, you know, the runners couldn't have known that coming into this, and it's certainly too late really to go back and adjust that plan now. But bringing Tristram here might have saved some time.
Yeah, it's funny to think that I haven't touched Tristram since what, like the 15-minute mark, or maybe even 10-minute mark. So the spellbook shuffle is the only reason they're sticking with Ruben, and like you said, may have ultimately been a better decision to have Tristram.
Yeah, I'm sure they're probably thinking at this point, like, oh no, because those instant death abilities, you know, it doesn't matter how much health you have or what level you are if those land, you're just gone. As we've seen Ruben go down a couple times, as well as some Benjamin deaths due to those abilities.
Man alive, this Dark King is a meanie.
Yeah, hitting for over 700 damage to that Ruben there, which, you know, immediately puts him below half and kind of on the back foot because you can't risk sort of taking that again, or you're going to lose more turns and potentially the whole fight.
Yeah, Ruben might be slow, but there's one character that's slower, and that's Benjamin. So if Ruben goes down, and pretty much Dark King's going to attack first, and I think that's just how you wipe in these kind of scenarios.
Certainly, as we see both of them now left with the low Ruben and Fred, you know, taking a wipe very similar to the wipe Artea took on their first attempt. This Dark King is not messing around.
Accidental auto on Ruben, who doesn't have real spells, so opted to use a cure potion in his true genius AI. So kind of a waste of a turn there, but ultimately didn't matter, so that's good. Sometimes auto will really, you know, cost you an entire attempt.
Definitely another reason that Phoebe and Kaylee are preferred in some situations is their auto abilities tend to be a little more beneficial. They're going to use the cure spell much better than a cure potion.
Back in phase 3 for Artea.
Right. Fred still pushing double whites when he can, otherwise having to do a lot of triage, a lot of damage still coming out from this Dark King.
Let's see this. See if you can see that insta death move come out again.
Yeah, I'm curious which one it is exactly. I believe we saw Doom Gaze earlier in the fight, but I'm not sure what he had later on.
A good point to tell you. Could have been trying to predict an early Benjamin death and then a subsequent Ruben life. That is a good point.
It's a heads-up play to sort of try to hedge your bet sometimes and just sort of plan for the worst-case turn. Like, what could he do right now that would wipe me? And what can I do to keep that from happening?
And the worst part is every time you make a decision like that, that's the one turn Ruben's going to go faster than Dark King.
Always, right? Always, yep. And just throw your plans right in the dumpster there.
Phase 3 treating Artea far nicer this time around. I've got to imagine they're getting close to Phase 4.
Damn, man, finally getting some damage to stick.
Some real mean attacks still, though.
Yeah, you never, probably the Dark King is hitting whoever he's hitting for less than half of their HP. Really, you don't want to see, those big 800, 700 hits come out, especially on your Ruben.
Yeah, especially every single turn. This is a strong one.
Definitely going to be casting a lot of life. Any hit on Benjamin taking him down pretty much. I think we've seen one ability that it doesn't just wipe Benjamin off the table.
Jeez. Phase 4 for Artea at the same time. Coughlin enters Phase 3. Ruben thankfully not wiping there for Artea. It's going to come down to how mean Phase 4 is.
Right? A little bit of luck and some, proper strategy to sort of plan for the worst and try to push some damage because there's only so much left you've got to do at this point.
It is always disappointing as a runner going in with like a slightly higher level Benjamin, and it doesn't matter one bit. There's not a single attack Benjamin survives at level 17 that he doesn't survive at level 15. So the levels ultimately didn't cost Coughlin any time because they came naturally, but not giving him any advantage.
Right, yeah, not getting an advantage in this point because, the Dark King just clobbering Benjamin anytime he does anything. It's interesting. I mean, it's a risk you've got to take, right? You never know because of the script shuffle exactly how hard the Dark King's going to hit. Very different than sort of taking him on with his vanilla script.
Lucky low enough damage there on Benjamin. Artea getting the flare off here. Maybe the final hit? Nope, not quite. Oh boy.
This is a thick Dark King, still sticking around. The heals constantly.
Of like, when do I send it? This could be it. There it is, Artea. GG with like a 55-53, I think I saw. Wowzers, what an ending to this race.
Definitely very fast speed, but Dark King sort of putting up the block at the end. Did not want to let the runners through. And Artea doing a fantastic job, especially considering missing a couple of those items that we brought up over the course of the race. Had to do a little bit extra work, a little bit lower Benjamin there.
Yeah, in Artea's situation, you definitely want to see a mean Dark King that does damage, not a mean Dark King that does statuses. So they did luck out in that case. Whereas Coughlin takes a Phase 4 wipe, and we'll see if he takes the forfeit here, knowing that Artea's finished. And that is what he is going to choose to do. Don't blame him, but man, well played by both runners here. That was as close as race that we've had this whole tournament.
Definitely, right there neck and neck in the Dark King fight, and the Dark King definitely sort of showing both runners what he can do as far as things to sort of put them on the back foot no matter what they come in with.
And we are joined here in the booth by Artea. Congratulations, Artea. Good run, good race. All around well polished run, like just to watch. It was great to see. How you feeling?
Well, thank you. I'm looking at the stream right now and looking at how much more gear Fred had. I think that I didn't loot as much and as well as he did, but probably didn't route as well either. But well, a win is a win, and DK is the great equalizer, so I'll take that.
100%. We've talked about it a few times over the last like 20 minutes or so. Cupid Locket coming from an Aquaria battlefield, and Aegis coming from, I think it was a multi-key check. But it clearly didn't matter. Dark King was mean, but not for status effects. You just had to deal with, reviving a character every single turn.
Yeah, well, I practice a lot to just be able to get through Dark King when Ben cannot even tank a hit. It's always a gamble. I was going in at level 15. I really wasn't sure. But at the same time, looking at what DK really had for us, I don't think that having much more levels would have helped for much of the stuff. It was either 300, 400 hits or 750. So being level 17 at 680, it will still result in a one hit. One thing that would have helped though is at 16 you have an additional wizard charge. That would have been kind of big, but oh well.
Yeah, we discussed that as well. The level difference not actually making a difference. So kind of really lucking out in the fact that Dark King was as mean as he was to you. I do have a little question about kind of early game. Did you forget that Cage Temple was in Foresta?
Yep, I thought that the Cage Temple was in Aquaria. And then I was like, do I go back in Aquaria? It's Ice Pyramid. I can handle that probably. And then, oh, there's Volcano. I'll do that. And then when I've cleared all the Feuerberg region, I went to Aquaria to get Ruben up because I was precisely in go mode at that point. And then I did not find the Cage Temple and was like, wait, what? Why?
Yeah,
Where
we were
is it?
trying to speculate there a little bit. I feel like every single runner's forgotten where Libra or Cages or Sand at any point. So not even surprising. But we were discussing whether or not you were planning on maybe trying to run for Tristram or what your plan was. Funny to know, it's just a little forgetfulness that, everybody has done. Glad you went back and got him. It was nice to see.
Yeah, it was sure that I wanted to go with Ruben. The quests for Tristan were, unless it was going to be a full clear, they were pretty mean. Like Ghidra, I don't really want to go dive Ghidra unless I really have to. And 27 shard hunt, well, if I can avoid it, I will as well. Meanwhile, Ruben at level 34 can usually do quite a lot of work. I'm really not a fan of him, but at the same time, between Ruben 3 and Tristan 3, Ruben still have white. I did not have many good damaging options either at that point. So I was just thinking it's gonna be Ruben. And then I got white in Spencer. I was like, oh, well, that's a damaging option. And then I went both. And I checked for the sand floor in case it was either flare or one of the two defensive items that I had. I was like, at that point, it's not that big a gamble. It was, if it was Aegis, Locket, or Flare, it was Flare. We'll take that.
All said and done, Flare, I'd have to do the math, obviously, but Flare may have been the difference maker. You did take that phase 3 wipe, which put you and Coughlin starting a Dark King fight almost exactly at the same time. So you having Flare white versus his white may have, kind of been a difference maker there, especially with your one less charge you had.
It might have been. Flare is quite a lot more damage. It's like a 1.5 multiplier. Flare does around 2k and white is more in the 1.3, 1.4k, so it's kind of a big difference on the large scale.
Yeah, it was a great decision. I was glad to see it there. It seems to always be in that very last chest you can access. So, it's nice to see at least one of you check that. Coughlin will not be joining us in the booth tonight. Probably going to lock in, clear his head, get ready for the next run, I believe tomorrow?
Yep, at the same time.
So tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We don't have a channel set yet, but obviously we'll update everybody who wants to know. Join the Discord. You can find the link at ffmqrando.net. Join the Discord. We're all relatively nice. I would say pretty nice even. Learn how to run the game and, learn from people like Artea and fcoughlin. No better people to learn from, really. Artea, you got any closing remarks you'd like to make?
Well, yeah, I want to thank Speedgaming for the visibility they gave us. It's great and always great fun to have the community with me. I want to thank also the great community of the FFMQ Randomizer with the excellent commentary. I'm sure I'll be looking at the game just to see what you guys did, what you guys said about me, and also how Fred routed this stuff. I'm pretty sure that having Ruben early with white helped him a lot. But well, thank you for commenting. Thank you for the tracking. Thank you for organizing. It's greatly appreciated.
Yes, thank you to Speedgaming. Thank you to Wild Ham for tracking. Thank you for Potato for being here with me. Thanks for Coughlin. Thanks for the race. Thanks for the entertainment. Potato, you got anything else to say before we sign off here?
Thank you all. It was another fantastic race. I look forward to seeing, what we've got next tomorrow and continuing on in a week.
Alrighty, everybody from Speedgaming, have a great night. We will see you on some channel tomorrow. Goodbye.